Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I touched briefly in a post that I posted earlier about diabetes, but I just wanted to just leave like a quick verbal audio note on it, just to make sure that it's understood. That I just want to just touch a little bit about what happens when we eat a meal. So we take in a meal, and the foods that we take in, you know, our proteins, carbohydrates, and our fats. The carbohydrates are converted or broken down into glucose. So you're taking those carbs, they're broken down into glucose, whether you ate a potato, some rice or bread, or some raisins or dates, whatever it is, it gets broken down into glucose. When that glucose is there in your body, it signals the pancreas to secrete insulin, to release insulin. Why? Because insulin is the key in which the cells are opened up and the glucose can enter into the cell. And then that glucose now is taken around the body and used as energy. And we need that energy. So so after that, whatever you don't use as energy is stored as fat in the liver. And that's when it's broken down even further to something called glycogen, okay? And it gets stored as fat. And we actually use that when we need it. It's like a backup storage. So if you're fasting all day, like what we do in Ramadan, and you haven't had, you know, anything big, you might have just woke up, grabbed a few dates, or just drank some water, where do you get the energy to be able to work, move about, and do everything that you're doing all day? It's from your stored glycogen that now is produced by the liver, and that gets converted again back into glucose, and there you go, that's your energy source. So when we don't use it, and we have a lot, like what's happening with diabetic people, they're eating, and either they're not secreting insulin, right? So they're insulin depleted, or they're secreting insulin, but the cells will not open up. They're not allowing the insulin in, meaning they're insulin resistant. So they don't want the insulin. Okay, so whatever the case may be, this glucose now sits inside the bloodstream. It doesn't get taken up by the cells. And while it's sitting there, okay, there's no energy. So the cells are starving, they're depleted, the body is depleted from energy. You have so many other problems that are happening inside the blood, the bloodstream, along with what's happening to the body in terms of lethargy and you know, having urinary problems, and so many problems that diabetic people have. And of course, with this going on for a long period of time, it can even cause even more and more severe problems, from blindness to amputations and kidney problems, so many different things. I've taken care of so many patients with diabetes in their 50s that are completely debilitated because of this disease. So what we want to do now is, since we understand that diabetes is a food disease, it is a food disease caused by the inability to utilize glucose due to either the lack of insulin or the resistance to insulin. Now what we want to do is, we want to be able to find another energy source. We want to find another energy source, an alternative energy source. And there is an alternative energy source, and that's called fat. And that's what happens, like when you're fasting, we're going to actually signal to our body that there's no glucose there, just like you would do when you're fasting. How? By not taking any in. And by not taking any in, now you're going to use what's stored, and if you don't have any stored in your liver, where are you going to get that fat from? It's all those fat deposits all over your body. So, and this is why Atkins diet, South Beach diet, Paoli diets, all these diets, ketogenic diets are all working, because it's utilizing the fat stores in the body to actually be their energy source. And it is a much longer energy source. I know I use it quite a bit myself. So that's basically what's happening with diabetes and what is happening with the process when we eat. Now we're going to go in, my next video is going to be talking about processed foods. Okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.